Well, here we are, week 7. Can you believe it's been 6 games and now we're coming up on our 7th, which starts tonight? Well, we had a lot of good matchups last week. We have some more coming up this week, and I want to do a recap of last week and talk about some of the reasons why some of us won and some didn't. And then also look ahead and see what we might project for the next 5 games. Of course, we play 5 games each week, and we have that league pick'em, and for the past 4 weeks, I think I've picked 4 out of 5. So the prognostications are coming, and they're fairly accurate. And so let's begin with the first matchup from last week. Was my team, Monkey Punch, playing Luck Don't Be a Lady, which is Pastor Rob and Seth, your church or your team. And going into the week, you're 5-0, and my team was 3-2, and so I wasn't feeling too comfortable about playing that team. But I had a really good showing by Tom Brady, Julio Jones, and then a guy named Cameron Meredith. I just picked him up because I saw that he was doing really well. Alshon Jeffrey struggling with the Bears, and so Meredith stepped in, and he's played a large role in the Bears' offense. And so they carried my team to victory. And Rob, your team, Seth, your team, just had an average week, or actually below average, didn't score a lot of points and just struggled. And so I was happy to walk away with that victory. I see that even though you're 5-1, you're still well ahead in first place, so you're fine. By the way, I'm at the library here at Biola University, which is where I'm doing my PhD program. So I have to be a little subdued and a little quieter today. So, secondly, we had the Go Browns playing the Steeler Nation. And last week I said this was my shocker special because I believe that the Go Browns team was poised to win a game, the very first game, and they did. They pulled it off. And they were well behind coming into Monday night. But David Johnson, the running back for the Cardinals, scored 43 points or so and just blew everything away. And so David Johnson did well for you, Rick, and Mike. Unfortunately, you had a good performance by your wide receivers, but your other 7 starters really didn't do too well for you. So sorry about that. And then that drops Mike you down to 3-3, but you're in 5th place, right outside the playoff window. The third matchup was the boys playing Who Dey Nation. And this was the game I lost. I picked the boys, Bob's team, to beat Pastor John's team, Who Dey Nation. But indeed, Who Dey won by 27 points. And they were led by Cam Newton, and also the great running back play of Christian, don't call me Christine, Michael, and LaShawn McCoy. They scored, between those 3 guys, you scored 96 points, John. So it was a really good showing by them. Bob, you had a huge day by Marcus Mariota, who scored 43. But the rest of your players, all 9 of the remaining players, only averaged 9 points per. So, of course, that didn't bode well. And it gave you your 3rd loss. But you are in 4th place. You're still hanging in for the playoffs. And I believe you're in good shape going forward, especially if Roethlisberger actually comes back at some point. Then we had the Red Devils playing Tony's Chance. And for this game, Tony, I picked you. You had a good showing, and you ended up winning by a substantial margin. You had a poor outing by Roethlisberger. I think they took him out during the game at some point. But you got 107 points from Golden Tate, Lamar Miller, and, of course, Gronkowski, because Brady's back. So you did well. Michael, you had a fairly solid showing, but you were disappointed by Jamal Charles, right? Who isn't? If you're a Jamal Charles owner, you are disappointed because Spencer Ware now is taking a lot of his carries, and it's one of the reasons I picked up Spencer Ware. But you also had Eddie Lacy, who is a disappointment for the past 2 years. He only scored you 8.1 points. That's not good for anyone. So, unfortunately, Michael, your team got beat. Fortunately, Tony, for you, yours won. But you guys are both sitting at 2 and 4. Tony, you're in 8th place. Michael, you're currently in 9th. And the last matchup we had was Team Dietrich playing the Silver Bullets. And Tim and Michelle, your team got 60 points from Breeze alone. And the interesting thing was this was the closest matchup of the week. Only a little more than 8 points separated you two. And Ken, you got 61 points from Odell Beckham Jr. He finally showed up for a game, and boy, did he pay off. And you got 41 from Brandon Cooks, so you got over 100 points just from your two biggest wide receivers. But unfortunately, just 58 points from the remaining 8, which means they only averaged 7 points after that. So, the thing that I noticed was if you had put Alshon Jeffrey in instead of Sammy Coates, which I think Coates was due to have a big week last week, that would have been the difference for you. But Tim and Michelle, that gave you the victory. And you sit at 4-2. Team Dietrich is in second place at 4-2, and I'm in third place at 4-2. And Ken, you are mired in sixth place at 3-3. But you can see just one game separates sixth and seventh place from second and even third place. So a lot can happen in one game. And so let's talk about that, because this week we have 5 more matchups, of course, and they're good ones. The second and third place teams, Monkey Punch and Team Dietrich, are playing one another this week. So right now in the projections, it looks like Monkey Punch should walk away with this. But, projections are just that. They're, what should happen, but they don't play the game on paper. So what do we have? Well, we have Julio Jones on Monkey Punch playing San Diego. Favorable matchup there. And then the owner of Monkey Punch is taking a big gamble this week in acquiring Ty Montgomery and Spencer Ware, and hoping that Jordan Reed comes out of concussion protocol well enough to actually play. So there's a bit of a gamble. Team Dietrich, the thing that you're suffering from this week is Zeke Elliott is not playing. And I'm okay with that. As a Buckeye fan, I love Zeke, but if he's not playing against me, I'm good. And the other thing is Breeze is on the road. And Breeze just doesn't do as well on the road. And if that holds true this week, that also impacts Michael Thomas, because, of course, Breeze and Thomas are a wide receiver and quarterback combination. Because of those factors, I'm giving myself the nod this week in that game. The second game we have is Steeler Nation playing Luck Don't Be a Lady. So here we go again. We have 2 good teams poised to play. And Rob, let's take a look at, and Seth, let me take a look here. You have to have Andrew Luck playing on the road against Tennessee. That's a tough matchup. And, of course, you want him to do well. So they might have to throw a lot at the end, but that's a tough matchup for any quarterback to go into Tennessee and actually play. As well, you have Melvin Gordon, and Todd Gurley. They have good matchups in Atlanta. And as well, Gurley's playing against the Giants. So those are favorable matchups for the running back core of Luck Don't Be a Lady. As well, Steeler Nation has Derek Carr with a very favorable matchup against Jacksonville. So that benefits Amari Cooper. Both those guys are a combination. But the running back situation, Mike, looks horrible for you. 2 struggling running backs in Yeldon, and I can't recall the other one right off the top of my head, but when I looked at it, I thought, boy, that's a tough match. But Edelman could help if Brady decides, hey, listen, I'm not going to throw every single ball to Gronkowski. I'm going to throw a couple to Edelman. That might be the thing that brings this match a bit closer. But as it stands right now, I'm giving the nod to Luck Don't Be a Lady. Then we have the boys, led by Bob, playing the Go Browns team led by Pastor Rick. Now, for the Browns, you look at that team on paper and you're like, man, they're stacked. They got so much. David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Aaron Rodgers. But there are some problems with the Go Browns, and one of them is Aaron Rodgers. He's been playing far below what he's capable of and historically shown. So he's really struggling. Sammy Watkins is still out, even though he's in the lineup there. And you have David Johnson, who was running all over the place, playing against Seattle. So that's not a good matchup for him. Bob, with the boys, the thing that's going to be challenging going forward is Brown. Antonio Brown does not benefit from Roethlisberger being out. And, of course, he is. But you have a really good matchup with Devontae Freeman, who's playing against San Diego. And if Tevin Coleman doesn't hawk all of his carries like he's been doing, if they let Devontae Freeman run, he's going to have a really big day. And also, this is, to me, the great equalizer. Whenever one of your stud receivers is being thrown to from the quarterback on the other team, in this case, Jordy Nelson for you, Bob, is being thrown to by Aaron Rodgers, whom Rick is starting. That always, to me, is a big way to reduce the impact of one quarterback really killing you. So for those reasons, I'm giving this one to the boys this week. Now we have a father-son matchup. The Red Devils are playing Houday Nation. And on paper, John, you have a great running back situation in McCoy and Christian, don't call me Christine Michael. Though they have tough matchups. So you have good running backs, but tough matchups. I know this week you have to play Andy Dalton because Cam Newton is out. But they're playing Cleveland. So Dalton against Cleveland. Here's the thing. John, of course, you're playing your son. And Michael, you are starting Rashad Jennings and who was it? You might have even been starting me. It was that bad. But Rashad Jennings is horrible. I dropped him. I drafted him and I dropped him. Just not playing well. Plus, the Giants have a backfield that's very, very crowded right now. So that's not a great matchup. I almost threw up when I saw that you were starting Rashad Jennings, only because he's not been good. But you never know, right? It's fantasy football. You never know. And then, other than that, I'm giving this one to Michael anyway, because using the logic that I used a few moments ago, Michael, you're starting A.J. Green, and John, of course, you're starting Andy Dalton. And Dalton's favorite target is A.J. Green. So I think, given that, it's a tight matchup anyway. That's the only reason I say, well, I think even though the bad running back situation that you have there, Michael, especially with Rashad Jennings, that you can pull this off, because if Dalton's going to throw to anyone, he'll throw to Green. The last matchup we have are the Silver Bullets playing Tony's Chance. And this is an interesting matchup, of course, because Tony Roethlisberger is down. We don't know for how long, but you put Bortles in. Bortles is a great backup. He's got a favorable matchup this week. So even though you have challenges with your wide receiving core, they're not great. You do have Gronkowski, which is a tremendous equalizer there. But I do think that Lamar Miller this week has a favorable matchup for you. And even though they're playing Denver, Denver hasn't been very good at stopping the run. So this is going to be something that you can certainly benefit from. Ken, you have very tough running back matchups, especially given that Ryan Matthews and Ajayi, I'm not sure how you pronounce that anymore. But your two running backs they have very tough matchups. Matthews is playing Minnesota, and Ajayi is playing Buffalo. So those are tough. And they're not great running backs in the first place, but with the tough matchups, that might be something that's too difficult to overcome. And I know that you just had to pick up a wide or a tight end because you're struggling with a good one. And so given that, I'm giving this week's nod in that matchup to Tony's Chance. Okay. So to recap, I have Monkey Punch beating Team Dietrich, Luck Don't Be a Lady beating Steeler Nation, the boys beating Go Browns, the Red Devils beating Houday Nation, Tony's Chance beating Silver Bullets. Now, set your lineups. First game is tonight. And from the Biola University Library in La Mirada, California, I bid you good fantasy football weekend. Take care.